and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with the king no matter, he'll get us the day. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.
Good night, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite live sports show, because I know my guests here will say that they do have the best podcast there is, and trust me, it really is. No, folks, this is not an episode of JT and the Don. This is still your favorite hashtag this just in. I just have the dynamic duo with me, none other than Jimmy Thompson and Donato Bucci. Guys, welcome. It has been a long time in coming.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited, and we've been looking forward to coming on your show as you graciously came onto our podcast. And this is new for us, live. This is pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, thanks for having us on. I hope he doesn't get in our way of talking about sports, but we'll see what happens.
This is not a fantasy podcast, by the way, JT. However, I must remind you all, though.
I'm out.
I did go 4-3 in your picks. I don't know how y'all did, but I did go 4-3, by the way. Just thought I'd put that on your
I did go back before I came on the show because I remember we said we'd send you some JT and the Don swag if you went over 500. You did go 4-3. The LA Chargers saved you, and my Steelers disappointed as always, or as usual this season.
We will save the Steelers talk for another program.
Thank you.
What we will talk about, though, are these Los Angeles Rams who do not own, or at least, they beaten one team with an above 500 record, lost 3 straight games in a row. So, JD, I will start with you. What is wrong with these Rams?
I feel like this is a broken record because when you came on our show, I know you hedged your bets, which was smart, and you were saying that you were going to wait to see what happens before you make a decision. And I think it's more or less what we talked about on our show was they got all these brand new shiny toys and they still didn't fix the things that were wrong with their team. And you saw it, Green Bay is a terrible matchup like you talked about before for them. They still can't run the ball, the Rams, and they're not physical on defense. And you saw it yesterday, like that's 2 of their biggest issues, and they have not fixed it. And I think also, too, you're starting to see that the preseason hype with Matt Stafford was, out of control. Everybody's saying, MVP, best quarterback, best player in the league, probably. So I think he's kind of come down to earth a little bit. And, Detroit, Matt Stafford is showing up, with all the pick sixes. But at the end of the day, they're just not a physical team, and they can't run the ball. And if you can't do that, like I said before, you can't expect to win when it comes playoff time.
Don, what's going on?
So, Justin, I know this is your show. On the JT and the Don show, we have certain questions that I know JT comes up with. They're overreaction type questions, and I call them JT type questions. So, Justin, I know this is your show, but I feel like you went into JT's bag and grabbed out one of those overreaction questions. All right.
Is this a way for you to just say, like, look, I was wrong then, I'm wrong now, but I'm just gonna kind of, soften the blow. So just come out and say you were wrong, because I feel like that's what you're doing. This is how he sets up. This is his version of an apology.
I'm never wrong. When have I ever been wrong? You tell me. But this is an overreaction. Everyone needs to relax. They're still 7-4. They're right there in the NFC West, only 2 games behind. They're right there in the thick of things in the NFC. All right. This team needs to just gel a little bit with Von Miller coming in, Odell Beckham coming in. They just need some time to gel, and they still have. That's the beauty of this season. Normally, they'd only have 5 games left. Now they have 6. So they basically have a little less than half a season still to get things right. So I think they will. I'm not worried. But if you did have to pinpoint one thing in terms of a struggle, I think it is the offensive side. Time of possession, they have been terrible. against your Packers, Justin, they didn't have one drive over 3 minutes long. You can't win that way. The Packers had 40 minutes time of possession. Game before, the 49ers had like 39 minutes time of possession. So that is the reason. I don't know if it's so much the physicality, because I think that'll be there. Green Bay, JT and I have mentioned this, they're a bad matchup, especially on the road in the cold. But it's that offense that needs to get going. And I'll leave you with this. They lost John Johnson, Troy Hill, and they've lost Brandon Staley, pieces that were an integral part of that great defense. The other thing is 2018, their defense was only 19th in yards and 20th in points. This year, they're 15th in yards and 17th in points. So they don't necessarily need the defense to be as great as it was last year, number one. They need that offense to step it up, limit the turnovers, and I think they'll be fine.
So, Don, sorry, this time I'm going to have to lean towards JT. And I'm going to preface this by first saying I have never been a fan of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan to the point that everyone else was. And I'll explain why. They have been called offensive masterminds. And if you've watched the show long enough, you will know that I have this one point I always stick on. That they've all learned that offense from Kyle's father, Mike Shanahan, and his title-winning days with Denver. And I'm going to get to the point eventually. Even with somebody as great as John Elway in that offense was predicated on running the football with those zone running schemes to the point where Terrell Davis was actually the best player on those two back-to-back championship-winning teams. I say all of that to say the offense then that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur, Arthur Smith all inherited is predicated on zone running. When the Rams were at their best and they made a Super Bowl, who was their best player? Todd Gurley. And they relied on that same zone running scheme. The same thing in San Francisco, which I will get to 2 segments later. I say that to say Sean McVay has gone away from what makes his offense tick. And it's all simply because he has this shiny new toy in Matt Stafford. He wants to show up to the rest of the league and justify why he made the trade. Granted, Matt Stafford is hell of a lot better than Jared Goff. But all the Green Bay Packers did on Sunday, we sat down in a 2-high safety shell, played 6-man fronts at the best, a lot of 5-man fronts, and dared him to run the football. Sean McVay refused. He absolutely refused to the point he ran 19 times for only 69 yards. So not only did he not want to run the football, he couldn't run the football. So all of this, to JT's point, this team is physically soft up front on both lanes. And you saw that. The Packers were able to stop the run with 5 or 6-man front, so they exotic with what Joe Barry did. He rushed forward the entire night. Our linebackers, Chris Martin and Devondre Campbell, were basically playing coverage and dared them to run. And then on the opposite end, we are missing 3 starting offensive linemen. And when did you hear Von Miller's name called? When did you hear Leonard Floyd's name called? When did you hear Aaron Donald's name called? They were absent in this game. This team is physically soft. And sorry, Don, I want to say it is sad that you have all this collection of talent, especially on that defensive line, and they're as soft as putty. There's a reason they have only beaten one team with a record above 500, because they're getting outmatched at the lanes.
Well, I do think that could still change. You mentioned some great players, and now is the time. You are right about one thing. Like, after Thanksgiving here is where they need to show up. So you guys may call them physically soft. I'm going to disagree with that, because I still think they have time to change that, right? They do have veterans. Veterans now know, hey, after Thanksgiving in the playoff hunt, now is when we need to reach our peak. And that's what I do feel is coming. And you're right about one thing about the running game, but Sean McVay learns, he takes in that info. And while they don't have a Todd Gurley, the zone blocking scheme has never been about one running back. Denver, Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, those guys literally came in 1,000 yards after Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis goes down, 1,000 yards, Olandis Gary. So I think McVay knows that, and I do think they're just kind of flying under the radar.
Are you
And
confident, though, that he knows that? Because to his point, you know what the issue is, and you refuse to go in the direction to fix it. Like,
but
can you sit back so everyone can see that shirt that you're wearing? You're wearing what hoodie are you wearing? You're wearing the Steelers hoodie. That is the definition of a franchise that is not soft. So you, out of everybody on this panel, should know, like, soft football when you see it. And what you were describing with the time of possession, that definitely speaks to ability to run the ball or to stop the run and get off the field on third down. They can't do either. And I don't think necessarily that he doesn't want to do it. He just knows he doesn't have the weapons to do it. And I think to your point about Todd Gurley, he's known that he hasn't been able to run the ball since Todd Gurley went in the tank, and that's been their Achilles heel.
When Justin gets to the 49ers, I will explain why I think the Rams are along a good trajectory here down the road, even though it doesn't look like it right now.
See, I told you this is his version of an apology.
So then, in that case, then, Don, as we go to the next segment, are you seeing that the Rams still have a shot at the NFC's top seed, or is it a matter where you have either the Cardinals, the Packers, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking that top seed eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be realistic as well. I've got Arizona because I believe JT and I had said when you came on as a guest on our podcast that Arizona halfway through the year was the best team in the NFL. And I'm sticking to that. I think they take the top seed in the NFC. They're already 2 games on top of the Rams. They're, I believe, a half a game or a game and a half up on the Packers. And this is the other reason why I think their remaining 6 games, they play the Bears, the Lions, the Seahawks. Should be 3 victories. And then they play the Rams, the Colts at home, and then the Cowboys. I think they win 2 of those 3 games. And I don't think I'm sorry to say, Justin, I know the Packers are your team. I don't think the Packers can reach them for the top seed. Doesn't mean they can't beat them in the playoffs. But as far as top seed, I got Arizona.
Well, I'm going to shock you just shortly. So, same question, Jimmy. Who do you have as the top seed coming out of the NFC?
You see, this is why me and him can't talk before doing anything, because somebody's going to steal something from someone. Like you literally have everything that I had written down. I do still think that the Cardinals are the most complete team, and then on top of that, they're getting all of their stars back healthy. Like they haven't lost any steam. Kyler's coming back, D-Hop's coming back. Like that team is getting healthier. And the guys that were, maybe like secondary guys now have that starting experience and they're getting their feet under them too, like a James Conner. So they're going to be really dangerous. And to, like Don alluded to, that schedule, I mean, it's insane. Like anytime you play the Lions and the Bears, like you're not catching anybody, like if you have games to make up. And then Indy, I think, is very winnable. And then the Rams, I think that's a bad matchup for the Rams. So they legit could go 6-0 to finish out the season. And then if they're already up on those 2 teams, like he said, I don't think there's any way that any other team can catch them for the number 1 spot.
So I have to let's make a quick case for my Packers before, I agree with y'all and say the Cardinals. Because as you mentioned, yeah, if you have games against the Bears and Lions, like no one's making up ground. But we're only a half game back. And we do have the tiebreaker, having won that Thursday night game in Arizona. We also do, I think we only have 2 games remaining on the road. And one of those games is in Detroit. Coming out of this bye this week, we are going to play the Bears at home. But I think the biggest, positive going forward is at some point, I think we may actually get back 3 all-pro players in David Bakhtiari, Jair Alexander, and
That's huge.
Those are not just normal names. Like that's our best pass rusher, our best cover corner, and the game's best left tackle. So these are, that, as you said, Jimmy, that is huge.
That's huge
to get those back on a team that is already accustomed right now to playing without them for basically the entire season.
But how concerned are you about Aaron Rodgers, though? Like, I feel like this team, you get all those good pieces back, and I almost forgot Jair was still out there. I mean, he might be the best corner in the league when he's healthy, but how much do you trust the health of the two Aarons, Rodgers and Jones? You know, do you trust those two to stay healthy over these next 6 games? I mean, I know you're saying it's the Bears, but I mean, Matt Nagy might not be there, so that might be, you know, different team. You know, I know the Lions usually play you guys tough, but you should beat them. But if those two Aarons aren't, you know, let's say 85% healthy, like, do you still feel confident that you can win out the rest of that schedule?
I don't expect us to win out. Like, we have a game on the road in Baltimore. I fully expect us to lose that game.
Oh.
And I think that's the only one I have a tab to lose. Before I let Don jump back in here, I will say Aaron Jones has looked like a shell of himself for the entire season, to the point I know people within the organization are probably feeling this. Somebody has to publicly admit that A.J. Dillon is already better than him. At some point, somebody's going to have to admit that. And the only reason they're not is because Aaron Jones obviously just got that big payday. And I'm not saying this on the basis of this one game where he just came back from injury. But the reality is, he's our big play guy. He's never been huge. Like, he's not a guy to...
Not a workhorse.
Right, he's not a consistent 5 yards per play, every play, but he's a home run hitter. So that's where his yards go up. Like, one play is just going to, boom, hit a 50 or 60 yarder on you. And for whatever reason, that's not been there this season. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've lost our starting center, all-pro center, Corey Linsley, to the Chargers. Elton Jenkins is done for the year. And then, obviously, David Bakhtiari has not played a single snap. And what we can rely on is just throwing the ball to that left side of the lane, and Aaron Jones will pick up yards. A.J. Dillon gives me hope or reason to believe we don't need Aaron Jones at 100%. We do need Aaron Rodgers close to that. And while like this bye week coming up now, it gives him a chance to rest. He says he's not getting surgery on the toe. But before I let Don jump back in him, yeah, I'm with Arizona. Like, the upcoming schedule is soft. LA is not a good matchup for them. And we're about to get to the Cowboys, and I'm starting to have my question marks with the Cowboys. So I think Arizona closes out 5-1 and keeps that number 1 seed just barely. Go ahead, Don.
No, I was just going to say, I thought you were going to take the Packers, and I was going to ask you, are you not concerned with the Ravens, the Browns, and then the Vikings again? So I figure if the Cardinals go 5-1, you've got to go at least, you have a bye, right? So you've got to go at least 4-1, but you know, there's a chance that you go 3-2 because the Browns are going to need to win. Baltimore is going to need to win. They're always going to be physically tough. And then I think you play Minnesota after a physical Baltimore game. So you just never know.
And that Minnesota game was already, it could have gone either way the last time you guys played them. So
you surprised me by taking the Cardinals. So you kind of answered the question, I guess.
Yeah, with Dalvin Cook, and that looks like a serious injury. I don't think that they're going to beat us in Green Bay without. I mean, they did last season, but without Dalvin Cook, like, percentages of that drop. You all know how we feel about Baker Mayfield. Like, that Cleveland Browns team is not beating us in Green Bay. Like, hell no. No. The loss they have us having in the back half is really that Ravens. I don't think we're going to beat Baltimore in Baltimore, but I see us winning every other game. So to answer your question, guys, yeah. Like, y'all, I think the schedule is just too soft to catch up to Arizona. And I think we have one more tougher game than they do, so I'll give Arizona the edge.
I agree with him on the Cleveland part, too. I think that's a team that maybe the Packers shouldn't be overlooking, just specifically because of what you said. You know, like Aaron Rodgers, like, he's not going to have surgery on the toe, but, I mean, it's an issue. Like, he's already talked about it's been stepped on. Like, you know, like, he's been playing it up as this thing that's going to hinder him for the rest of the season. But he also could be building in it for an excuse if he doesn't win a Super Bowl. But we don't know. But, I mean, he's clearly hurt. And you just said, like, you know, Aaron Jones is just, he hasn't shown to be the guy since he's got that big contract. I mean, you watched that game last night against Cleveland and the Ravens. I mean, really, that could have gone either way. Like, Cleveland is not, well, any AFC North team is not a team I want to see in December. Like, I don't care, like, who's on that squad. Like, either way, it's going to be a cold game, and that's what that division thrives in. So I think that remaining Packers schedule is significantly tougher than what the Cardinals have to go through. Like, they're going to be playing indoors in the sunshine. You guys are going to be out in the blizzard trying to get first place. That's very tough.
Well, the reason, and I'll close up this segment quickly, the reason I don't worry about the Browns in Green Bay, yes, we are susceptible to the run, but I think they're going to load up waiting for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And the reason, as you saw yesterday, Cleveland needed Baltimore to turn over the ball, 5 times, and they still didn't win. If there is one team you are sure that's not going to turn over the ball, it's an Aaron Rodgers-led team. That's not going to happen, especially in Lambeau Field.
You sure you don't want to change your pick? Cause I'm starting to hear he's going back to the Packers side. Do it. Just pick the Packers. Don't go with the Cardinals.
No.
Hey, don't be influenced by him, Justin. We've talked about this.
No.
Don't listen to him.
He's making me feel like maybe, the Arizona and Packers gap is not as big as we think it is. I say you should just stamp it and say that's who's going to get the number 1 seed. Go with it.
I wanted to, but my head is overly hard, so I'm going to take the Cardinals to take 1 seed just barely. I'm surprised none of us mentioned the Buccaneers, but
I mean, I just don't trust them because their defense is so bad. So they can get into any game, get into a shootout like yesterday, and they could be in trouble.
Well, as we're talking about potential playoff teams, a team I had circled early on to make the playoffs and started poorly, but now they've won 3 in a row to not only vault themselves above 500, but I think either into the 6th or 7th seed, and that is none other than the San Francisco 49ers. So, JT, this time I'll start with you. Are the Niners back?
The fact that we're even talking about this, I know you said it's not a fantasy show, but I'm really mad that the Niners are winning games. I'm so mad. He knows why I'm mad because that means Trey Lance is never going to see the field this year. So that was a wasted fantasy pick. So as much as it pains me, are they back? Yeah, absolutely. And it's for all the reasons that we don't trust the Rams. The Rams, this is the most physical team in football, and they're getting healthy all across the board on defense, on offense. I mean, obviously Debo just got hurt, but that's recent. But adding it on both sides, they're getting healthy, and they're starting to play like we saw them play a couple years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. Bosa's almost back. The running game is back. They're physical. I mean, they're just dogging people. I was reading a stat the other day where Debo Samuel has more rushing touchdowns this year than Dalvin Kamara and your boy Aaron Jones. That's insane. That's a receiver. So I don't think that anybody, especially the Packers or the Rams, want to see them in the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I feel like those two teams are probably, they're terrified right now that they're even in the hunt to make the playoffs because this is like a Dallas Mavericks beating the Lakers 8-1 seed. They could be that team to knock off anybody at any time because if you can't stop the run, you can't win a football game. So, yeah, they're definitely back.
What say you, Don?
Justin, so I'm going to take a page out of JT's playbook.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you should answer them the way I expect you to answer them. And if you do this,
you can't call me out if I do this to you.
And that'll get me to my actual answer. Okay.
Let me sit back because this is going to be BS. Watch.
So, do the 49ers have a strong running game as of today?
Yes.
Is George Kittle healthy?
It would appear so, yes.
Are they a physical defensive team?
Yes, they are.
Is Nick Bosa healthy?
Yes, he is.
And is Jimmy G doing just enough not to lose a game?
5 touchdowns and 1 interception, just 1 interception over the last 3 games. It tells me yes, he is.
So that is my answer. It goes back to when they made the Super Bowl against Kansas City.
You could have just said yes. You could have just said yes.
Relax. I'm speaking with the host of the show. All right, leave yourself over there.
He always does this. He tries this. He's trying to say, you know what? I might agree with what JT says, but I'm just going to say it in a more complicated way. So it seems like I got all this data. You saying the same thing. Will it hurt you to just say yes? Yes, I agree with you.
I think Justin had a lot more fun in that minute and a half before you interrupted us than when you were discussing the answer.
See what I got to deal with, man?
This is the other thing. The perfect example was this game against the Vikings this past Sunday. The Vikings dared them to run. To pass. They put 8 in the – and what the 49ers answer with? 208 rushing yards, a season high. So basically they said, hey, we don't care how many you put in the box. We're still going to run. And that goes back to their November 7th game against Arizona, where Shanahan passed too much. And since that game, he's come back to his bread and butter, the physical running game. And so the 49ers are back. JT, you are right in the sense that the Rams, the Packers, even the Cowboys probably don't want to see them. But that is also why at the beginning of the show, Justin, and I said I'd get back to it, why I believe the Rams are still a dangerous team and everything's okay there. Because if McVay takes a page out of Shanahan's book, analyzes everything he's done to date so far, he's going to realize, I need to run Henderson. I need to run Sony Michel. We need to be physical. And that'll open up Higbee, Kupp, now Odell Beckham. And that's where I think they can get going, and the defense will feed off of that, just the way the 49ers have done.
So this is going to be a boring segment because, yeah, they're back. And for all the reasons you both said, the thing is with the Rams, I just think Sean McVay gets ahead of himself. He has a shiny new toy, and he has to show, oh, look what I have now. I am better than all the other Mike Shanahan disciples. I'm better than Sean McVay. Sorry, I'm better than Kyle Shanahan. I'm better than Matt LaFleur because they can do these pretty 3 wide receiver sets, blah, blah, blah. And Kyle Shanahan was going down that same lane. Hence why I don't rate either of them. And Don, you hit the nail on the head. It goes back to the Arizona game. And there are these stats that blew my mind. What I didn't know is that loss to the Cardinals, they ran 11 times and dropped back 45. That is not 49er football. And it is not coincidental. The winning streak happens to come the same time they decided to put Deebo Samuels in the backfield and treat him as a running back. And then look at the run to pass ratio in the following 3 game sets. Again, sorry, I have to look down at my notes. Against the Rams, 44 runs, 20 passes. Against the Jaguars, 39 runs, 22 passes. And against the Vikings, hold on, no, I'm messing it up. It was 39-22 against the Vikings. And against the Jaguars, 42 runs, 24 passes. So essentially, they are running the ball twice as many times as they're deciding to throw it. And would you know it, Jimmy G is a lot better for it. 5 touchdowns and just 1 interception in this span. And that's what I've said. This zone running scheme is just predicated on running the football. That is what this offense is. You've seen it. Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Arthur Smith. That is when this offense is good, is when everything is predicated on the run. And everything then comes out of either play action, naked bootlegs, etc., because then the reads are easy. I think the same thing with the guy in the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, because I think he also learned that from Gary Kubiak, who happens again to be a Mike Shanahan disciple. This offense is not that hard to run, and I don't understand why Sean McVay and why Kyle Shanahan decides they have these pretty new toys, so let's get in these 3 wide receiver sets and forget the fundamentals of this offense. So sorry for that long rant, but San Francisco's back.
Because that's fun, Justin. That's what we want to see.
It's fun.
Right? We want to see the
fantasy
greatest show on
turf. They're trying to
turf.
appeal to the crowd. But no, I agree with you. It's basically the same formula that they had when they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Let's run it down people's throats, and hide Jimmy G. Hope he doesn't mess up. Like, it's the same exact thing. Like, you're a Packers fan. Like, you remember that thoroughly. Like, this is, to me, the most dangerous team that nobody's talking about because, like, who's going to stop them? Like, they're the one team I think can go into Green Bay in the cold and beat you guys. Like, that could happen.
They say to stick to this formula. As you said, they once it is running the football, hiding Jimmy G, and making his reads easy and short. I agree with you completely. Like, but the moment that Kyle Shanahan gets beside himself and decide, hey, let's try out this new trick play, or let's put the ball in Jimmy G's hands. Well,
bad things happen when you start doing that.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything here, Don.
No. I mean, I think we're all in agreement here that 49ers are back and they're doing it the way they did when they got to the Super Bowl against Kansas City.
Well, their historic rival is actually going in the opposite direction. And I'm let me say this, by the way. I am so happy to finally have people, and this is no disrespect to my other hosts or other people come on the show, but a lot of them are significantly younger than me. So when I talk about Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak, sometimes I get these looks. So it's great to have people closer to my age who know what I'm talking about. So yes, for those who also may be too young to know, San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys have had their fair share of battles, especially in the 90s when they split, I think, 4 Super Bowls between them. So when I mean rivals, I mean the Dallas Cowboys indeed. And they are going in the opposite direction, having lost their last 2 games. Start with you this time, Don. It seems that this team is getting exposed for all the talent that they have. Is it fair then to call them pretenders?
You know, I've been watching so much of the Steelers football this season that to me, all these other teams look great. So I guess that's why I'm being extra friendly. I'm being extra friendly today. I said the Rams are in good shape. I'm giving the Cardinals props. I'm giving the 49ers.
Can you say the Dolphins are in good shape? That's how you know it's bad. Like, are you going to go that far?
No, not yet. And
right,
so
cool.
I've got, yeah, they're
He's
way
not that
out
nice
there.
then. I thought I was going to get one of those today.
And I'm going to say, that's because you wore that ugly hat, JT.
Look, I'm just wearing a hat of winners. Like, you want me to go in there and pick another hat? I mean, I got Ravens one in there too if you want one.
Because none of your teams are winners, so you have to go be a bandwagon fan.
A lot of my teams, all my favorite teams won. I just don't want to change my hat mid-show.
Justin, since he will lose next week, and you won't even see that hat in sight around JT for at least 2 weeks.
Sorry to cut you here quickly, Don. I just want to tell people, yes, the Bengals are my guilty pleasure. I've been holding that in for so long. Like, and not because JT's wearing the hat. I love Joe Burrow. I believe now in Jamar Chase. I thought it was a stupid pick, but what do I know about football? And I love their run defense. I absolutely love it. I hope this team makes a serious playoff run, but go right ahead, Don. Sorry for crossing you.
I was about to take off my headphones and walk off the set. I mean, two Bengals fans right here. Oh, this is awful. So let's get back to the question then. I'm done talking about the Bengals. So the Cowboys, I think they're contenders. You look at their injuries. Now they have some COVID issues. I think once they get healthy, similar to what JT was saying about Arizona, once this team does get healthy, CeeDee Lamb comes back, Amari. I mean, think about it. They played the Raiders without CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper.
I mean, it hurt Zeke.
And yeah, pretty banged up Zeke. Like, that's difficult to do in the NFL on a short week and win a game against a good Raiders team. So I still think the Cowboys are contenders. They're going to win the division. I mean, if they lose the division, Mike McCarthy's fired.
Is it even possible that they could lose? Like, who's the closest team to them?
Well, that's, I think, Philly, but that's what I'm saying. There would need to be a catastrophic decline by the Cowboys here rapidly. Now, their defense, even though they're 23rd in yards, they're 11th in points allowed. That's pretty good. Like, we forget that. And then you look at their offense, and this is why I think they're contenders. Even though they may have to go to a place like Lambeau, but we saw it opening night. They can get into shootouts when they're healthy. They're 3rd in points per game scored, and they're 1st in yards per game. I know it's defense still wins championships. However, offense will keep you there till the end. So if you can give your defense a chance, this is the one team that can, because it can put up it can put up points. And then you look at their schedule. They have the Saints, which I don't know if the Saints are going to hang on much longer. Washington twice, the Giants, the Eagles, the Cardinals. So I think they could go 5-1. They're 7-4. They could end up 12-5. To me, you go 12-5 in a 17-game schedule, you've got to be considered a contender, even if we don't like the team.
So before JD jumps in here, let me also preface this by saying, yes, head coach Mike McCarthy is not expected to be at the game. He's come down with COVID. And what a lot of people may not know is that Taysom Hill is now taking the starting reps at quarterback. So with all that in mind, JD, is this Dallas team still a contender.
I was going to ask you a really stupid question and ask you, like, what's your definition of a pretender? But you just said Mike McCarthy is not going to be their coach. And so, like, that already makes the contenders in my mind. Like, for a lot of the same reasons that Don said, they had a rough game against the Chiefs, but they really, really could have won that game against the Raiders. And no CeeDee Lamb, no Amari Cooper, and a banged-up Zeke. Like, when those guys are right in there, that's a completely different team. And they almost won that game on Thanksgiving night. So the one main reason why I believe that they are legit contenders is I just believe in Dak. Like, Dak is showing exactly why the Dallas Cowboys almost messed up their entire franchise for the next decade, messing around, trying to not pay him. Like, Dak is legit. Like, as long as he is lining up under center, like, they have a chance to be in every game, no matter who he's throwing to. So as long as he's healthy, I think they're legit, a threat in the playoffs, and they are a contender, in my opinion.
I feel the same way. My issues, like you touched on it, JD, it's a damn head coach. And I can say that comfortably because, well, I kind of know him personally.
Did he take the hot tub to Dallas? You think that's the issue?
Yeah, I think he really, like, this guy is not.
He's outdated. He's so outdated. Like, it's
and
old.
He's one of the worst clock managers there are in the entire NFL.
Facts.
And he does not know how to commit to running the football. I'll show you nothing like, sorry to make this about the Green Bay Packers, but the moment that Mike McCarthy left the building, Aaron Jones rattled off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Back-to-back. The moment he stepped out the building. I say that to say, look at the games against Kansas City and that same Raiders game. They committed to 16 and 19 running plays. When you have Ezekiel, Elliott, and Tony Pollard, arguably the best 1-2 running back tandem, probably second behind Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I mean, granted, I will say that they're missing offensive line. Sorry for that. And they only managed, 3.2 yards per carry against the Raiders. But this
Raiders is good defense.
And you are missing Amari Cooper and the CeeDee Lamb. And yet still, I want to say Dak is up there throwing the ball almost 50 times. That's crazy. I wish Mike well. I do not wish death. I mean, obviously, no one wants to see anyone come down with COVID. This may be the best thing that's happened to Dallas not having their head coach. Because, and as to your point, no, CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are coming back. My only thing, as I said, the head coach is a deterrent for this team. But there's still some problems with that defense. And I say that because this defense is predicated on turning over the football. And I've always wondered what happens when they don't take away the football. What happens when they play a team that prides itself of taking care of the football? And you saw that against the Raiders. They did turn it over, and boom, 500 yards of offense. And I don't know if that is going to win you playoff games because you're going to be playing the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers of the world who do not turn over the football. That is my only concern. But I do like the talent because you have Randy Gregory, you have Micah Parsons, my favorite defensive player in the league right now.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He's a monster.
As long as he doesn't line up offside.
Oh, he's young. He'll get over it. And
by the way, not to go off topic too much, how does that continually happen in the NFL? How do guys line up offside on defense?
Got to be coaching, right?
That ball. What's that got to do with anything? Look at the ball, line up onside. Is it that difficult? I mean, I don't want to get off on a rant.
So your team has zero offside penalties this year when you're coaching, right?
We're speaking NFL, JT. These guys have had thousands of snaps, thousands of reps in practice. They are now grown men. Mike McCarthy, Mike Tomlin should not have to tell a guy, hey, look at the ball and line up on side. I mean, come on. That's sorry, Justin.
I'm not going to complain because against the Rams, we got a first down when somebody lined up offsides in a punt unit. So I'm going to take that all day.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm just amazed it still happens. That's all.
Oh, what is amazing, though, is that everyone's picked out of the AFC West. Los Angeles Chargers have now lost 4 of their last 6 games and have fallen all the way, I think, from 1st to 7th.
Right on
So,
time. Right on time.
So JD seems to be, sorry, Don, I'm going to let JD go here first because he seems to be itching. What's happened to the Los Angeles Chargers?
So I don't know if you remember this when you were on our show and we were going through the 3 quarterbacks. It was Herbert, Baker, and Josh Allen. And we all went with Baker as the one we were worried about. But I was like, my heart tells me the guy that I wanted to worry about was Justin Herbert. And I'm not saying it's 100% his fault, but in totality, this is just the Chargers. Like, no matter who comes into that building, the Chargers, they are like the self-destruct franchise. Like, no matter how much talent they have, they're going to find ways to be mediocre. Like, or they're going to find a way to lose the game they should win. That's just who they are. I think 3 things are happening with the Chargers. One, everybody kind of like Matt Stafford was so quick to anoint Justin Herbert as like he's arrived as this superstar, like top 6-7 quarterback. And I'm not saying he's terrible because I'd rather have him than my quarterback because Tua ain't him, but he's not there yet.
And you passed up on Herbert to take Tua, by the way.
Oh, yeah, trust me. He's never going to let me forget that. But, yeah, absolutely. Like, he is not there. He's not at the Dak level yet where you put him behind center, you're like 88% have a chance to win that game. Like, he can overcome a lot of things. Like, I don't think Justin Herbert is there yet. I think it's more a product of the weapons he has around him. You know, you have Allen, Eckler, and Mike Williams. Most quarterbacks are going to look decent, and then he's talented, so it helps. And then 2, maybe Staley as the new coach isn't the answer. Like, I like him to hear him talk. Like, the way he approaches the game analytically is great, but I mean, those X's and O's got to translate to the field. And he's a defensive guy that took over an offensive team that was supposed to ascend and take that next level. And they're not doing it at the pace I think most people thought they would. And then, which brings me to my last point. Let's just call it what it is. Their defense has not been good for years. And I just don't understand how that's possible when you got Joey Bosa, you got Derwin James, who is finally healthy. You know, you got other guys back there that can really play. And I'm like, is this basically a carbon copy of what's wrong with the Rams? You got 2 guys that are really good. Well, really 1.5, but 2 guys at max that are really good. And the rest of the guys are just pieces. And I look at what the Steelers did to them on that Sunday night game. And I'm like, how is this defense giving up this many points to that quarterback? And then this week they turn around and they can't score against the Bengals at all. So I think it's a combination of this team is just not as good as people thought they were. And it starts with everyone probably thought they were better than they were because we overrated that quarterback a little bit.
Justin, you know, one thing you got to know about JT, he will fit the pieces, as he says, into his opinion. Right? He mentioned nothing about Justin Herbert when the 3 of us were on our podcast.
Did I not say that?
I said that's his biggest concern.
Baker is too bad of a decision.
You got to speak.
Said I should pick Justin Herbert.
JT, you got to speak. Let me speak now. So he mentioned right off the bat, it was Justin Herbert's fault. Organizations going down the tubes because of Justin Herbert. Guys in his 2nd year, relax. For some reason, Justin, since the guys come out of Oregon, JT has had it in for the guy. So the guy could win 7 Super Bowls, surpass Tom Brady, and all of a sudden, to JT, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time.
You're right. If he would have played at Utah, I might feel better about it. You're right. Exactly.
So there's multiple things with the Chargers. One, to me, I'm starting to believe they're just a cursed organization. I mean, you look at from like the late 90s, Marty Schottenheimer taking over, and then, you know, Anthony Lynn and all the other guys, just they cannot close the deal at the end. And that has cost them, whether it was Phillip Rivers or now Justin Herbert, it has cost them playoff appearances year after year. So this is not a new thing for the Charger fan base, whether it's LA or San Diego.
It's on brand.
Eli Manning turns them down. Michael Vick turns them down. Like, it's just cursed. But if you look at this specific season, I think it's a couple things. Yes, Brandon Staley and Joe Lombardi, the time might be a little too big for them. Joe Lombardi's the OC. Not to say they can't get better in the future, but if we're talking right now what's wrong, the spotlight might be a little bit too big for them right now. Then you have the issue of drops. You saw it this past Sunday. Austin Eckler drops it, pick six the other way. Those are game killers, game changers. And they've had plenty of those. I think they rank near the top. I don't have the official number, but they've got to rank near the top. And then the other thing, they started off so well. Who was humming? Mike Williams. Where has he been? I don't know if he's injured or if the league's caught up to him, knowing, hey, just don't give up the deep ball to him. But whatever it is, he's another contributing factor that has caused the Chargers to be in this situation now.
I honestly don't know. That's why I brought y'all guys in, because I thought y'all could answer this question for me. And I'm not even joking with y'all. Like, I will say this, and I agree with both y'all. Maybe the spotlight is too bright, and maybe or the expectations were too big. I say that because what I've quickly found out this season, and again, sorry to bring up my Packers, but I'm a major homer here. What I learned from week 1 in the blowout loss to the Saints, there is no such thing as carryover from a previous season. Every single season in professional sports starts anew. And when I say that, these Packers, we had the top scoring offense. They led the league in time of possession. We scored at will in the red zone, blah, blah, blah. I can go on and on. I know these are things of areas of concern this season, although we have almost the same cast. I say that to say, I think last season people saw, these Chargers are young and upcoming. Justin Herbert looks like the next best thing. And they just lost a series of one-score games. So if we get rid of Anthony Lynn, that's going to magically solve all these problems. And lo and behold, that's not the case. I think we have to remember Justin Herbert is indeed a second-year quarterback. And we're seeing that in this stretch of 6 games, only 11 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Like, wow. But you kind of expect that it's a sophomore slump. But I think y'all hit the nail on the head. This defense, my word, this defense is terrible.
How? I don't get it. How are they this bad?
They're giving up 4.7 yards per carry. This is historically bad. Like absolutely terrible. To the point where teams are not disguising what they want to do. They're like, okay, we're going to just run it down your throat. And the Chargers can do absolutely nothing to stop this. I don't know if the expectations were too large. I don't know. We're asking too much of a second-year quarterback. I just know that this team is just not as good as everyone thought it would be.
You bring up a good point with the defense. I think it goes to show you how much the defense is a defensive unit. And while I like the Rams, obviously there's concern on the defense. You have all these great individual pieces, but can they play as a unit? And that's probably what's happening with the Chargers. I mean, there's no way you have Derwin James in the back, right? Joey Bosa up front, and
Big Ben goes off for 50 points.
I was going to say, you made the Steelers look like the 1999 St. Louis Rams, and then the next week the Steelers play the Bengals, and I don't care how good the defense is of the Bengals, we look like we couldn't score on a college team. Yeah, well, not even that, a college team. So I think it goes to show you needs to be a defensive unit. And yes, Herbert's going to go through the sophomore slumps, but like we talked about on the show last time when we got together, like Justin Herbert's numbers are very similar to what he did last year. So how much is really falling on him that maybe we're putting too much blame on him, and that maybe he's actually kept this thing afloat while the defense tries to figure it out. I don't know. And maybe that game against Denver, just things came to a head. It caught up to them. They came off a very grueling physical game against the Steelers Sunday night. Quick turnaround. I think they're on the road. So
grueling. That was a 7-on-7 passing clinic. That was not a grueling game against you guys.
It's still the Steelers. It was still physical.
I couldn't tell it was the Steelers.
So I'm glad you brought up the Steelers because we've gone through this show quite quickly. So I'm going to add an unscripted schedule or unscripted segment right here. Don, what the hell is going on in Pittsburgh? Like what is going on? I mean, I already know, but I love to hear this from a Steelers fan.
It's not winning, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we took a page out of the Dolphins playbook.
Hey, you just don't have the draft picks, though.
To not win. Yeah, we still have them, and we got Minka from you, so thank you. Great job there.
Where's that gotten you?
Better than where you're at.
Did he win you a Super Bowl?
Listen, don't be upset you lost
I'm not
that
upset.
trade.
I'm not
Justin,
upset.
he's deflecting things,
I'm
right?
not
He
deflecting.
knows he lost that trade. Just take it. Just take it.
Look,
But-
you guys gave up a first-round pick to get Minka. Like, has your team benefited from that in the win column? Like,
so Justin,
what have you guys done?
To go back to your question, I don't think we have enough time to answer all the problems with the Steelers, but I will say this about them.
Sure, you do. Yeah, you do.
It's an overnight show, so we go until midnight. So go ahead, list out all your issues.
Listen, the issue is you can't run the ball. You go and get Najee Harris, great player, just not a first-round pick for the Steelers because you've got no running game. You could have Bo Jackson back there, and while he may do a little better than Najee Harris, it's not going to be enough because there's no line play. Now, they can get better in the future, but if we're talking right now, you got O-line, Ben still cannot throw a consistent deep ball. And in my last point, a huge disappointment, which I don't know how they fix it, Devin Bush. A huge issue. He's running around not knowing where to go. He's not being physical. He's not making plays. I mean, we moved up in the first round for this guy. That's why the Minka pick in getting rid of a first rounder, I have no issue with because Minka's worth it. He probably would have been worth a first and a second the next year. But Devin Bush, we moved up for this guy. Now, granted, he had an ACL injury, but he still looks lost. Like, it's year 3. You've got to figure it out mentally.
But that's not fair. You got to give. You just said, Justin Herbert, it's the second year, it's
no.
Justin Herbert's not coming off an injury. Like Devin Bush is only in his second year and he's coming off a major injury. This
is the problem with you, JT. You have this expectation Justin Herbert should be Tom Brady 2007.
Yeah, right.
That's unrealistic for anybody. No one's ever
had. He's a franchise. Everything that goes well with the Chargers, he's going to get 90% of the credit. So yes, if he's getting a lot of the credit, the expectations are on him. Like, nobody was saying, this defense for the Steelers relies on Devin Bush. I know he's an integral part, but he's young and he's coming off a major injury. Now, he might not ever be the same again, but at least you got to give him another year to prove that that's the case.
I think the Steelers would easily take Justin Herbert over Devin Bush if you offered.
Of course, because y'all don't have a quarterback. That's not even a fair.
That's beyond the point.
That's the point, because that's what's wrong with the team. You don't have a quarterback.
The Dolphins would do that too. There's probably only about 6 teams that wouldn't because they all have Hall of Famers.
So the Dolphins are in a better quarterback position than you guys are. You would trade a second-round pick for Tua right now. If they extended the trade deadline, you would make that deal right now.
Anyway,
hold on. This is how you can tell. Let me ask you one question before you keep going. Would you trade Devin Bush for Tua straight up today?
I mean, it depends what we get in the draft next year. I'd wait till draft time. I would not be opposed to Tua.
I think you would press smash on that deal if that deal was on the table right now.
I'll tell you the difference. Quarterbacks last longer than banged up linebackers, and Devin Bush right now has not shown that he's worthy of that Steeler uniform. He's got to prove it.
He was your savior last year. You love Devin Bush. The dude gets hurt, and now he's just trash.
And he's disappointed. It's not the injury. He's in the wrong position. Everyone is saying it. All the analysts, all of the NFL contributed writers, they're all saying it.
So the Athletic says he's trash, and it's just we just getting ACL injury. Like he's young, he's coming back. Maybe he's not confident on that knee still.
And that's fine. Then it gets fixed next year. But this year, I don't know if he's fixing it. And I'm answering Justin's question. Offensive line, quarterback play, Devin Bush. Next.
Damn, Devin Bush got his own category. That's so messed up.
Listen,
I hope Devin Bush sees this and he DMs us, and I'm going to point him directly to you.
For Justin's sake, I hope Devin Bush is watching this. And
I pray, and then Devin Bush, you can come on and tackle Dawn and Jada yourself.
No, don't tackle me. I'm still giving you props. Like, look, man, like I still think you can turn it around. He's just gonna put you in there like it's like death taxes and Devin Bush. Like, it's equal. Like, you comparing entire units to this dude. Like, the quarterback room sucks, the defense sucks, and then it's Devin Bush. Like, that's horrible. Like, you should take off that hoodie, man. You're not a Steelers fan right now.
I was the biggest proponent, Justin, of us moving up for Devin Bush, and he's disappointed. Like, I admit when I'm wrong about certain players, but that's just the three off the top of my head. Like I said, there's so many more things. Defensive coordinator. I don't know if he should be defensive coordinator anymore, but I mean, we don't like doing that. But look around the league. Staley, Raheem Morris. I mean, you look at the young defensive coordinators now. Keith Butler, they're seeing a lot of what you've done over the years, and they're starting to catch up with it, and they've caught up to it. It's just we had Minka and, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward's having a career, Joe Hayden. That's another invaluable piece that we're missing. I mean, it's just so many things that it's hard to just say it's one thing. But do you think Mike Tomlin said there's going to be changes? Changes need to be made. Do you think the biggest question, right, the elephant in the room, is change coming at quarterback? I say no. So why say changes are coming when everyone wants to know, is the quarterback being changed? Because he may not be the worst part of it, but he's not helping us improve.
I can't disagree there, but the problem is, like, I would like to see Ben go as well, but there is nothing there right now. Like, you have to draft his replacement, because unless, for whatever reason, Deshaun Watson's legal situation tends to disappear, there's no trade and there's no one in your roster right now that's going to replace Ben Roethlisberger. And guys, I don't think there's anyone that's going to replace y'all. So my followers, please, anyone watching the show, you've had a good time. Please, please, please go find JT and Don. And I think Don will tell you exactly how to find these guys.
Yep. You can do us JT and the Don All Sports Podcast on all the major platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And please remember also to follow us, social media, our handle at JT and the Don. You can find us on Instagram. That's where we mainly do our social media interactions with fans. So please follow us on Instagram.
I follow them. I could tell y'all, and they are one of my favorite watches. One of my favorite, like, on my socials. I kid you not. Guys, it has been great to have you all. Thank you all for first having me on your show. And as anyone that comes on this show will tell you, you all always have an open spot, whether you have an open Monday or not. Just message me and let me know. Guys, y'all know how to find these guys. And we're on YouTube every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern to 8 o'clock, right above Monday Night Football. Perfect pregame show, basically. So,
yep.
For JT,
absolutely.
For Dawn, I am Justin of This Justin signing out. Go watch Monday Night. I'm not even gonna watch Monday Night Football. That game's bad. But do it for me, and then y'all can message me and let me know. So again, for Dawn, for JT, I am the Justin of hashtag This Justin signing out. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.
I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with the king of matter, he'll just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.